unbelievable. It's not the same without John. John died 5 years ago, and I think we all miss John. I think even a lot of the employees do too. We still have a lot of employees who work with John. John was extremely bright, always interested in art and castings. He won scholarships to art school, and he did many, many paintings. My house is covered in paintings that John had done. He would do sculpting, played violin and cello, learned to fly a plane, took all sorts of engineering courses in college, then served in apprenticeships for pattern making, and then his company sent him to the National Foundry College. They sent him over here a couple of times to visit carpenter companies here. The worst thing they could have done. He wanted to come back for 2 years to get used to the different things in the American industry. I think he'd always had that ambition. He and his friend had a part-time company in England. They actually used the oven in a bakery, but the company they worked for found out, and the one man got fired and John got left at the company. And that was the start of John's first business. My kids were young. We had to sell our home and move over here, which was quite a chore. Very day one, or before day one when we were getting the money together. Well, my background was I kept the books for my dad's business. My dad had a very small business, but when after I retired from school in England, I worked for the government as a tax inspector, so Her Majesty's Inspector of Taxes. I think he encouraged people, I think he respected them, and he got to know them all. You know, not just as a boss, but he just got to know them personally, and I think it's good. In fact, even now I have employees who've been with us 1 or 2, 30 years, who've come up and tell me how much they still miss John.
My mom, I think, still has the essay I wrote in about 3rd grade, which said, when I grow up, I want to work at Armstrong Mold Corporation. You know, my dad wasn't going to just create positions for us to sit in offices. I started as a pattern maker. I think my dad intentionally started me there. I had a technical background, but it was an opportunity to get plugged into the business, to really learn the insides of what we do, how we make things. It's integral to what we do. So I got firsthand knowledge working on the floor, saw the detail, and that's important to know what I'm doing today, to know how it all works. You know, through the years when we had parties and you know, whether it was a Christmas party or picnics, it was a family event. And I think a lot of people look to my mom as mom and dad in their own way. And I think they would give them advice and talk to them on the side and help them along the way, kind of like a mom and dad would for many people. What we do is we make prototype aluminum and plastic components for industry. Fortune 500 type companies or original equipment manufacturers. So if they've got a new product they want to take to marketplace, we'll produce a few pieces, a few hundred, a few thousand in production materials, aluminum or plastic. Historically, we've been just on that prototype side. Today, we do that, and we're more of a production source for low-level or limited-level production. Say for parts that go into medical instruments or aircraft and things like that. When he started out, he really wanted to just have a small shop. That was his goal. He thought if I had a 5, 10, 15-man shop, that's all I ever wanted to be. But he'd be very proud to look around the company today to see the technology, to see the parts we're making. But he'd have a smile on his face.
Engineering can be very stodgy and staid, but it's actually very creative because it's engineers that are creating all the great products that we enjoy. I mean, Apple and Google are full of engineers that are creative engineers. So at our company, having some creativity feeding into other creative people is where that side of my dad will come along, where the engineering is still very important, but a lot of it's creativity, problem solving, innovation, and my dad had that in spades. For the Bronze Age, they would make molds and they would pour metal into it to make cannonballs and cannons and bells on churches. So it's a lot of old technology, but then we marry that with all the 21st century things like 3-dimensional CAD files as opposed to blueprints we used to use. Now everything's done in a computer. We can 3D print master models. So we're using the 21st century tools to reinvent an old technology and make it viable in the modern era. My dad was a dreamer. He wanted to make parts that were great parts as a objective of a goal, but making the money part of it and keeping a business flowing, he wouldn't have been able to do on on his own. Now my mom, as a counterbalance, was very strict and rigid with the money, very conservative. So he could dream and fly away, but she always had a kite string on him to keep the thing from, going out of business. Something my dad would always say to us is that the key to the success of our business is the people and their attitude, because all companies out there can buy equipment, can have buildings, can have all the different things, but the thing that separates one company from another is just the drive and the passion and the intelligence of the employees. So for us, we've just got to make sure our workforce is always top notch.
Actually came to Armstrong Molds to work for 3 days through a temp agency because I needed to pay my student loan that month. And came in, second day I believe they offered me a position full-time in the quality department, which took 6 months for me to actually make that leap from deburr, degrease into the quality department. And 27 years later, I'm standing here talking to you. So we don't have a product line, so it's really up to our customers what we make. If the geometry fits, the materials fit, the tolerances fit, we can make just about anything. I think I'm blessed to be a part of it, to be honest with you. To be able to be in an organization that is as successful as it is and has the name recognition out there for what we do, to be able to be a big part of that for the last 27 years is definitely a blessing. Yeah, we are truly one of the best kept secrets in Central New York. We really are. Over the years, I've told probably hundreds of people what I do, and the vast majority are like, what, we do that? That happens in Syracuse? Really? Parts for the space shuttle, for the B-1 bomber, for the Segway, for the Tesla automobile. I think a lot of people are surprised at that. And I guess if you don't have a need for what we do, you might not know we exist, but to the people that have a need, they know exactly where we are.
I'd like to thank the Armstrong team to stand just a minute and take a bow. This isn't for us, this is for all of us. We're very proud of what we've achieved, but we're not satisfied.